A little chord right there.
You like that?
Word up.
Word
up. We're back. It's been 6 weeks.
At least.
Right? 5 to 6 weeks.
Yep.
Welcome to episode 3, I think. Like that little music there. Big shout out to Rev Lalo. We'll link him up here in the description down below.
Is it his handle right
there?
there?
So Eddie's a good friend of mine, buddy, old bandmate. We used to be in band back in the day. We used to play in church. So
tell us a little
happy
bit about
Good Friday.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Maybe on another episode.
Maybe
maybe somebody will have to catch the vlog for that, which is brand new as well on our channel. You'll start seeing more things there. But wanted to shout him out because he wrote that for us. It's not stock. That was like specifically done for us. And I appreciate the organ there.
Yeah, it's classy.
And it's Good Friday.
It is today, Good Friday.
So it's kind of
a good day.
Nice to bring this thing back.
I know.
Today, right?
Meant to be.
Yeah. Real quick, where have you been or what have you been doing the last several weeks?
I had a kid. Yes. Noah Ellis Thompson.
Hey.
Made his arrival about a month early. But everything's going great. He's home, growing. We had our first thing with the pediatrician yesterday.
Nice.
And she's like, he's perfect.
He's on the chart now?
He's on the chart. I kept saying, like, is he, you know, because he's a little premature. I was like, is he premature? Is he just, has the doctor looked at his parents? Like,
yeah.
Because, you know, I don't know if even I'm on that growth chart. I don't even know what curve I'm on, but whatever.
Right.
So, but yeah, man. So,
congrats.
Yeah.
To you
it's been amazing.
And, it's good to have the little guy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
With us.
And I'm getting sleep from time to time. It's good.
All right.
Know? But you know how that
cool
is.
Deal.
Yeah.
Well, figuring that it's Good Friday, there's really no easy way for us to, at least not for me, to bring this theme of Easter into, into this episode. Maybe you can think about it a little bit while I go through my notes from the last few weeks.
We'll figure it out.
So maybe we'll come up with something. I know there's not everybody, that listens to this is, a Christian. So there's that caveat, but it's about inspirational messages we hear and themes and how we can sort of bring those into the world of business and entrepreneurship. So I have some stuff I wrote down from several weeks ago, and there was this concept of communication was kind of a thing that came up. So when you're talking about teams, the ultimate dream team really was the 12, right? That was assembled out of mostly, unknowns. Right?
Big time.
Just
big time.
So then how do you I'm not saying go out and recruit a bunch of unknowns is okay, but in this case, they weren't the best communicators. They weren't the best, right? The best. They were more groomed. And I think there was this idea that there was something beyond what they were that they saw, right? That their leader saw, and he saw potential, and he was foreseeing great things, obviously, right? If we're still here talking about
absolutely
this thing, right?
I mean, we can get crazy with it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can think for a second, I don't know how this plays out, but
as
you're talking about it, think about this for a second, right? Saul, right? Becomes Paul.
Yes.
Right? One of the greatest. He was alive when all the disciples were there, right? And he was passed up. And he probably knew of Peter and James and all those guys, and he's probably hated all, he's like, they're on my list, right? But it was until later that it was his time. So in some ways, and we talked about this a little bit, right? That there were smarter people, people who basically went to sort of, were trained as orators who probably were, great speakers of their time. And instead, Jesus kind of went blue collar. Like he's like, I'm going to go get some fishermen who probably, have no formal training in any of this outside of whatever basic, Jewish education they had. And I'm going to put them in charge. Right. So that's pretty wild. Yeah.
So let's think of it this way then. So if communication is the sort of the word I wrote down.
Yeah.
How do you take 12 people that can be, different, and how do you make them a unit, a cohesive unit, right?
Yeah.
That knows what the message is, knows what the vision is, knows what they're after. Not all the time, but they're seeking that always, right? So you figure they had to have been led well. So there was these like 5 T's that were part of this. And I just wanted to see if there's something that we can grab from this. So I wrote down tone. Okay. How you're spoken to, how you speak to your team members, right? Your followers, so to speak. Time. And time, I'm not sure exactly how that was explained, but I can envision time just being the right time, maybe, to speak to someone.
Timing, yeah.
Timing is probably a better word and a better way to put it than time.
Yeah.
Trust, right? Truth, speaking the truth. And then the 5th T was just team, like just, right? Probably team meaning like always having team in mind,
right?
When talking, to this group. So if I'm translating it, if we're building a company or we're building an organization or a team for a project, how and people are different, right? People have different philosophies. People have different ways of working, communicating, talking. How do you keep everyone on the same task? Yeah. On the same goal, on the same mission, right? As a leader, how do you do that? Yeah. Watch how you talk to them, You hear this theme of kindness that's going around in business right now, because it's just better. You're better off being nice, right? Yeah. No one wants to work with a-holes. No. And you don't get far being that way anyway.
No. You can get somewhere, but not all the way with that.
So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on those.
I thought they're pretty good. Well, one thing that came to my mind when you were talking about team and stuff is, so 12 disciples, and then you had say 11 of them turned out all right. But I wonder, because you gotta imagine that these guys are like, there's probably some good days, some bad days, right? Sure. Everywhere they go, people are like, you're crazy. Like, that Jesus guy's nuts, but who are you? Like, you're buying into this. You're following this guy. Like, what's wrong with you? Yeah. All this stuff. And you got to think that sometimes they're like, maybe they're onto something. Who knows, right? But I wonder, because it really was the 12, right? And and Jesus even said, like, you are going to judge over the 12 tribes of Israel, right? So I wonder if that was sort of part of the, like, it's not in the gospel or anything, but like, do you think he ever like sat him down and got, like, just so you know, like, there's 12 of you for a reason, right? Because the 12 tribes of Israel, that's since Moses, right? So they sort of knew that was sort of, I don't know. I just wonder if like that was sort of the thing. Like, we need 12 of you guys. Like, I need 12 of you guys. Like, stick around. Yeah. I wonder. That's totally random, but yeah. As far as team goes, because I was just thinking, like, if you have like, you're building a team, everyone has their role, right? Sure. And that's part of it, right? It's kind of
maybe that's the unknown, is that we don't know what the specific gifts or talents of each one. Right. That were being developed. Right. We don't know that.
Right. Or even in how they were called. I mean, we kind of hear that, again, in the gospel, it's sort of a very simple, you can be fishers of men. Yeah. But I'm sure there was some sort of like look, I see something in you that, you know, means something, and I'm going to make it, you know, and somehow sort of laying that out. Because, you know, for those guys to stick around through all of that, you know, that's obviously it took faith. But even even in the end, they were I mean, they ran. Mm-hmm. Not only did they run, right?
Homies dipped.
They dipped. They split. They ghosted. Not only did they ghost Jesus, they went back to their job. Like they split hard, right? They went fishing. They went back to the fishing job. Mm-hmm. Like, we'll see you later. Like, you know, it really wasn't until Pentecost that they kind of got the message, right? And that's the Holy Spirit. And that's really, so if I may, I'll share a little bit.
Yeah, let me end with this.
Yeah.
On this, we say, because truth, you know, we both kind of went,
Oh, yeah.
Right? Truth without grace is mean. Grace without truth is meaningless.
What? Say that again.
Okay. Truth without grace is mean.
Okay. Yes.
Grace without truth is meaningless.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you need them both.
You need them both.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. So I'll share a little bit about, I went on a retreat. Was that like 2 weeks ago? Mm-hmm. 2 weekends ago? Sort of a Lenten retreat. And it was up in sort of the hills of Palos Verdes, beautiful area. Mm-hmm. And I had a really moving experience, really sort of centered on that Holy Spirit moving. And it sort of, again, sort of theologically, sort of getting into this space of the role that the Holy Spirit plays. And I sort of realized that we're sort of, and I'm kind of coining this phrase myself, I guess, maybe other people have said it, but we're sort of in this age of the Holy Spirit, right? This is sort of where we are. This is our means of understanding God right now, right? The same thing that the disciples were given, right, to live our lives. And it really sort of struck me because in some ways, you know, we can always sort of, for me at least, like that sort of made it more alive to me than it's been in a long time, you know? I mean, I can always look to the scriptures, you know, look to the traditions of the church, look to, you know, sort of different things about that faith life. But at the end of the day, it's really the Holy Spirit that's guiding all of that sort of is our way of sort of understanding and growing today, right now. And so it sort of, you know, it sort of came alive to me in that relationship too, it's really based on trust, mm-hmm. right?
Yep.
And I think what sort of stood out to me too is that it does take courage, right? There are so many other things that sort of promise happiness, success, purpose, fulfillment, but there's really not. They can be very hollow. There's some there's like truth at a lowercase t, right? Like, yeah, there's some truth to those things, but they're not the truth, right? And so it sort of dawned on me. And then I think too, when, you know, we sort of bringing this into the sort of business space, you know, if for us even, you know, there's a lot of things out there in any sort of business capacity that sort of promise success. Right? Follow these 8 steps, this guide, you know, even the idea, I'll be honest, like even the idea of a business plan, right? That sort of, they sort of teach that if you just follow this, then X, Y, Z, well, you know, that's where you need to start, and then this great stuff will come out of that. I think there's obviously truth to those things, but I think the greater truth is that we sort of, at least for me, is sort of to listen to the Holy Spirit and say, where do you actually want us to be? What do you want us to be working on? Where are you leading us? Where are you leading me? Where is this supposed to go? And I think that really, it sort of changes my perspective, you know? I think sometimes I get in a rut if I'm not sort of thinking of that, of getting into this space where it's sort of, I look for sort of these guideposts. Like, what are the things I should be doing, should, don't. And you just sort of like, you're like bouncing back and forth, you know, it's like being on that bowling alley, you know, where they put the bumpers up,
Yeah.
you know, you're just sort of like, you're playing, just don't go off too far. And instead of saying, okay, where am I really being called to be? And so to me, I think that was kind of a important pivotal moment, you know? And I think.
And how did that shape your mind coming out of usually these retreats, they give you like a renewing of, you know, a refresh.
Oh yeah.
A boost, inspiration, all those things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, aside from the fact that we started mixing the business up,
Yep.
you know, around the same time, the
Yep.
end of the quarter, at the beginning, you know, at the end of your retreat.
Yep.
How did that sort of shape your vision for Sightbox as we were getting into this growth plan?
Yeah. So it was really interesting too, because I think even while I was on the retreat, sort of those things came to my mind because, like it or not, this business is an expression of faith in a lot of ways. And it did sort of dawn on me too that if we're really truly open to this, if the Holy Spirit is sort of working through us and in the world, then in some ways it's really, you know, we have the opportunity to sort of help other people sort of at least sort of see that it exists. And that doesn't mean we're proselytizing or, you know, doing anything in terms of like sharing that sort of aspect of the faith. But I think the idea of being inspired, right, and seeing the truth in things, that is powerful. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the times when we talk about, like, you know, when we pitch clients, when we get in front of them, when we sort of do our thing, and we even talked about, you know, we did a pitch the other day, and our whole thing, and you'll probably hear more about this, is we want to make you look like $1 billion.
Yep.
That in some ways, if we're really being honest,
Billion with a B.
With a B, right? If we're really being honest about that, that is sort of the idea, right? It's sort of saying there is a truth, there is a capital T to what you do. You don't need to settle for sort of like a half-baked business or a half-baked startup, or, you know, just sort of settle for what you can get. What we sort of do is we come in and say, look, no, there's something even greater than what you're currently doing, and you should pursue that, and it can happen, right? Like, and here's a vision for what it could be, right? We only play a small part in that. That's a powerful part, right? Even just, you know, it's sort of witnessing in some way, right?
Sure,
Saying, hey,
yeah.
I see something in you. I see something in the work you're doing. And
That even you don't see.
that you don't see.
Yeah.
You can't see it, right? But we do. And here we're going to present that to you. And that can be life-changing, right? Or at least, and if anything, it is sort of, it's interesting to watch how that's received with clients that we work with and stuff like that. But I would love that to sort of inspire us to kind of really take that on as an agency and saying, you know, we can do your website. We can do some branding.
Yeah.
But that's the execution of that vision, right? The reason we're doing it in the first place is to elevate the work that's being done by everybody. Because we do think that there's dignity in that work, right? And we can all sort of graduate to that capital T, that truth, you know, the true potential to what we do. If we can sort of help play a role in that, that's a very fulfilling mission, I think, for what we do.
Absolutely. Truth. So just to round the base here, what would you say if you had to rate these things, like the tone, the timing, trust, and the truth? How would you sort of rate them? Kind of a little exercise here for the.
That's a good question. I think truth
I think they're all important, but
yeah, I think truth definitely, to me, right, obviously in our conversation, probably rises to number one. But I also think too, there's that maybe in the tone, how it's presented. I think that's key, right? Because you could do it all wrong, you know. I mean, we could, even in the way we present things.
Yeah. I would, me personally, I would almost rank tone number one for me, because it's all on the delivery sometimes and how someone says something. I mean, we work with clients all the time that some of them are very reasonable. Most of them are very reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's few that are unreasonable with some of the things that we're asked of. But there's sometimes the way that we're asked, that's a very reasonable ask,
Mm-hmm.
but in the tone of it is not there.
Mm-hmm.
The delivery of it it's off-putting,
Sure.
makes us not want to do it.
Yeah.
It just,
That can happen.
It's a sour taste. We're just like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then there's times where we're asked unreasonable things,
Mm-hmm.
but asked in a tone that's, that's polite or respectful.
Yeah.
And sometimes we do it.
Yeah.
Just like, let's just do it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think going with that approach as a leader with the people you work with, in your
Mhm.
organization, your teams, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
your companies, that tone, I think you're going to get a lot out of people that
I think so too.
either work for you or with you in any capacity.
Right. Well, and I think too, right, like sort of adopting that attitude outward going for us, right?
Yeah.
When we talk to people, I think sometimes we're polite almost to a fault, sometimes,
Sure.
and I would say this though, that even as we're going forward, like, again, we're sort of experimenting with some new pitch decks with our clients.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's
Those don't seem that.
What's that?
Those pitch decks don't seem that polite.
No, well, that's the thing though. And I think, to be honest with you,
but it's a tone.
it's a tone thing.
It doesn't mean
It's
polite or not polite.
right. But it's like, I think our approach right now is a bit of a tough love, right?
Yes,
And I
yes.
think that's
And that means there's truth. There's a truth for us in that.
right.
That we have to be true to ourselves to have that tough love.
Right.
Right.
And we are. And in many ways, when we're talking to these companies and startups, we're sort of bringing the truth. Like, this is really the reality, right?
Yeah.
This is the real deal. You need to know this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not all of them do. Or maybe they do, but they're not reminded of it, right?
Right.
We sort of snap them out of it and be like, oh, that's actually, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I'm up against,
Mm-hmm.
I do have to raise money,
Yeah.
or, there's all those sort of things. And so I think, yes, that is sort of a truth to that. And then, but how we deliver it is also key. But having a little bit of tough love, I think again, and we've talked about this too, like, the presentation we gave the other day was to a corporate client, and I told Charlie after the meeting, and I said that, that was toned down, and it was probably the toughest pitch we've ever done.
Yeah.
But at the end, I even said, like, and that was the light version.
That was, light version.
Because in my mind, we're like, where we're coming from, we're going to bring it, we're going to scare some people.
Mm-hmm.
And not because we don't like what they're doing. It's because that's what startup founders really need.
Yeah.
In many cases, they're great people, they're driven, but it's exactly that. Like, you have to snap them out of where they're at, and presenting, your standard corporate strategy guide stuff isn't going to do it.
Right.
Like, they're just going to go asleep. So we have to sort of do a little more shaking and rattling.
Mm-hmm.
But that's tone.
Tone. Yeah.
So, and what are the other ones? Timing,
Yeah. Timing, trust.
trust.
Trust goes both ways. I struggle with that one a little bit. Just in all aspects of leading,
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to trust each other as business partners because we've developed that trust amongst each other over years and
Mm-hmm.
and literally over decades.
Yeah.
Previous to
That's
this.
right. That's right.
But bringing new people on is always it's unsettling for me sometimes because I don't fully always, that's one of my faults. I don't fully let someone go,
Mhm.
go, man, I trust you, do your thing.
yeah.
I'm always like, I kind of trust you, but I'm going to be, the rope or the leash over here, just
Yeah.
making sure that it's going to be right or that you're going to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where there's leaders that are just like, I see something,
Mm-hmm.
I believe in, you, and I trust you, and trust that you'll do the right thing or do the job correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Go, and then deal with it after, right? When they see what's. So I need to learn how to do more of that. To just be like, go, do it, and if I'm disappointed, then we'll figure it out. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But giving them that sense of trust, that because it'll make them feel better about what the job they're doing too, rather than this guy's always, on my looking behind my shoulder or
yeah.
So that's one of my flaws. I have some of that.
Yeah.
I'm better,
Yeah.
more seasoned, but that would say that's the one I struggle with, trust.
Yeah.
But that was the other one, trust.
Time, trust,
Tone,
truth. What was the last one?
Team. Making sure it's all, at the end of the day, you're doing it for the team, right?
Yeah.
It's a team effort. It's for the team. It's for a cohesive,
Right.
or even cohesive goal.
Or realizing too, you're not alone. Right?
And you're not alone. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. In it together.
And I've said it in the last, I don't know, maybe episode 1 or something. If you're solopreneur, because we know that there's a lot out there. We've been that in the past. Find yourselves people to connect with. You don't have to make them a part of your company, your agency, whatever you're doing. Just team up with people. Go to meetups. Connect with other people. Connect yourselves with mentors, if that's your thing. But just having a sounding board sometimes is good as well. We've got people that join we do the daily scrums. I was talking about this on the vlog, that we'll go months without working on projects. And we talk to them every day, almost every day still.
Yeah.
Because they enjoy the sense of community and team with Sightbox. And that means a lot to us. That means a lot to me, right? That they're willing to hang around and give us 15 minutes of their day.
Yeah.
Just to be a part of this thing, even if they're not working on anything.
Yeah.
Literally, not even getting paid.
Yeah.
So if that's you, go find yourselves some cool people to be around.
Yeah.
And good things will happen.
Sounds good.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Happy Good Friday. Is today the day that Catholics don't eat meat?
Yeah, it's a no meat.
So what's going to be for lunch? Fish tacos?
Yeah, poke bowls.
Poke. Is it poke?
You gotta get.
Yeah, and then the Easter Sunday. So big day for us.
Yeah, we're doing an Easter egg hunt.
Oh.
So
those days for us are long gone. But
yeah,
we're
gonna hit that up this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. So that should be fun. Everybody have a happy, safe, fun, inspired weekend in Easter.
There you go.
Catch you in the next one.